City of Northglenn, Channel 8, keeping you informed of events in your community.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to call to order our August 27th regular City Council meeting. Joanne, would you call the roll, please?
Mayor Dodge?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Escobar?
Here.
Councilmember Sowers?
Here.
Councilmember Lighty?
Here.
Councilmember Downing?
Here.
Councilmember Brown will be absent. Councilmember Whitman? Here. Councilmember Durandal will be absent. Councilmember Wilford?
Here. Thank you. Would you stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have our new city manager at her first regular meeting tonight. Heather Geyer is with us, and I would ask, is there any responses to the city? I need to check. I'm sorry. Oh. I would just say no. No. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Are there any agenda additions and deletions from council? I actually have an addition. It is a proclamation. It is for Women's Equality Day at the request of Councilmember Becky Brown. I'll just read this proclamation from the dais, please. Whereas the women of the United States have been treated as second-class citizens and have not been entitled to full rights and privileges, public or private, legal or institutional, which are available to male citizens of the United States. And whereas the women of the United States have united to assure that these rights and privileges are available to all citizens equally regardless of sex, and whereas on August 26, 1920, America ratified the 19th Amendment, securing for women a sacred right of citizenship, the right to vote. On the anniversary of that historic day, we celebrate Women's Equality Day and the countless contributions women have made to their families, their communities, and in service to our country. And whereas in celebration of Women's Equality Day, we honor the passion and unwavering dedication of the women who struggled and persevered in the fight for suffrage. And we recognize that we all benefit from the leadership and ingenuity of women in education, medicine, government, law, business, military service, and every other field contributing to the greatness of this nation. Now, therefore, I, Carol Dodge, Mayor of the City of Northglenn, Colorado, hereby proclaim August 26, 2018 as Women's Equality Day in the City of Northglenn and encourage residents to take an opportunity to honor women for their leadership in service to their families, their communities, and the nation, and to continue to seek an environment of opportunity for all women. Dated at Northglenn, Colorado, this 27th day of August 2018. Thank you very much. Okay. Next is presentations, and we will be presenting the August Neighborhood Beautification Awards with Jenny Murphy's help. And council, if you would join me down below.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Thank you for having me here this evening, and I'm going to face this direction, please. Welcome everyone that could join us tonight. Tonight we're honoring 26 homes in Northglenn, which is the highest number that we honor throughout the summer. August is our biggest month. So we have a sampling, the very best sampling, of who could join us tonight. We have lots of busy schedules with schools and everything. So tonight we are honoring 26 homes. It's hard to believe that summer is drawing to an end. And with that, this is our last month to award the beautiful yards. So we'll get started here. Thanks to our 13 judges that we have for the 13 areas in Northglenn. So tonight we're going to start with our Water Wise Awards, Mayor. And if I could also have someone hand out the small certificates, that would be great. That'd be great. So, no, you're perfect. You're perfect, yes. So the first one tonight is Carrie and Vince Noda, and they have a Water Wise Award at 10931 Pearl Way. And if they're not here, we'll still recognize them tonight. Okay, great. The second Water Wise Award is for Natasha and Tim Meyer at 11544 Marion Street. Also, a Water Wise winner is Gary and Linda Patterson at 11028 Lambert Lane. And moving on to our Yard of the Month, we give this award out June, July, and August. And so we have Gregory and Bobby Kyle at 243 Garland. We have Rick Hayes, who wanted to be here, could not join us tonight, but he's at 11843 Grant Street. We have Lori Mize at 2840 East 107th Court, another beautiful yard. We have Shannon Reddy at 2438 East 109th Drive. Jean and Sean Jacobson at 1868 East 116th Avenue. I know, I didn't twist hard enough. Randy and Kelly Gears at 1941 East 114th Place. Yay!
Congratulations. I finally get to hand one out. Beautiful yard. Would you like to share anything with everybody about what you do? In your yard. Therapy, that's a good reason to do it. Well, the rest of the council would like to thank you, so please go on and shake everything and make it down. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Congratulations. Thank you.
Nice to meet you. Thank you.
What? I was supposed to come. Oh, great. We're just right here. Jenny, we have Lori, is it Mace? Is that Mace?
Yes. Oh, good.
Mace
great.
is here. She's great.
Great.
Anything about how you keep your yard so beautiful?
Just a lot of weed pulling and just keep it up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. It's beautiful. And another family just joined us. What is your last name? Okay, good. Not yet. Good. Okay. All right, here we go. And Ruby Vega at 10777 Corona Street.
You do all the work yourself? Yes? Well, thank you very much. Do you want to share anything with everybody?
Oh, I just flowers and plant outside.
Well, we're glad that you do.
Yes.
Congratulations, Council.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
Okay, and we have Tracy Sears at 227 Wallace Street. And Wayne and Dolores Huss at 11009 Lambert Lane, another beautiful home. Bob and Judy Huddleston at 10643 Sperry Street. Dwayne and Marion Harris at 3318 East 105th Court.
So congratulations. This is actually the beginning of the long-term home beautification award. How about that? It's a long title, I'm sorry. Congratulations, it's beautiful. Your house is gorgeous.
Thank you. Thank you.
Would you like to share anything with the audience tonight about how you delegate the activities in there?
It helps to be OCD.
That's a good answer.
Yeah. It definitely is. Extremely OCD. Thank you. Thank you.
It's fantastic. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Dwayne, for being OCD.
No other way to be.
And the mayor did remind me, I'm sorry I neglected to say, but the Long-Term Home Beautiful Award is given out just in August. And it's for the home in the neighborhood that everybody just kind of wants to be like. And that home is beautiful pretty much year-round like that. So thank you for the extra hard work. Continuing with Long-Term Home Beautiful, we have Janine Lee at 11069 Pearl Circle.
Very pretty. You want to share anything with everyone?
My husband helps too.
You get the award. Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Thank your husband too, Gina. Good job. Okay, we have Frank McCormick, and I think Gabby is also here, at 523 East 111th Place.
Congratulations, beautiful yard.
Thank you.
How do you guys split the duties?
He cuts and I garden. Yeah, I have the flowers.
Hopefully for a lot of rain.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much
Yeah.
for carrying it.
Thank
Keeping
you.
it gorgeous.
Thank you. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Very nice. Congratulations, sir.
So beautiful.
Let her carry on great work. You've got awesome work.
Thank you for being here. Thanks for your hard work. Good job, good job. And we have Steve and Susan Compton at 10930 Elizabeth Street.
Hello, it's nice to meet you. I believe I visited your yard. So, this is a story about the Comptons. I guess they returned their sign to the city because the HOA told them to get rid of it. I know, shock and horror. But I think it was a misunderstanding because they were giving out letters for the roofing signs in the HOA, and so there was a misunderstanding. But I delivered the sign back to her, and you saw your yard was gorgeous. So, yes, thank you so much. You want to share anything about your
Team effort.
takes care of the bushes and flowers, and I take care of the grass.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you again, Susan. Congratulations. We have Betty and Don Anderson at 11882 Gaylord Way.
Congratulations. But I don't think I've ever met you in all the times that I've known her. I don't think I've ever met you. Now it's a pleasure to meet you.
That's because I does all the work and he does the grass.
He does.
Grass is a lot of work. And I love my roses, and I like to talk to my roses and tell them how much I love my roses. I want to bring it over long term. I think this is awesome.
It's awesome to receive it. Good for you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
So beautiful. Thank you.
Hard work.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations.
You just start talking to my roses. That's what it takes.
So nice to meet you. Congratulations. We have Barbara and Joe Butler at 841 Phillips Drive.
You want to share anything about how you keep it so pretty?
She does everything.
She does
She mows, she trims, she takes care of the flowers. She sweeps the driveway, sweeps the sidewalk. And I make sure the timer on the sprinkler system is right.
You do good with that time.
Good job. I'll bet you do a little more than that.
No, I don't.
Oh, yes. I'm trying to help you. Mark and Denise Armio at 11316 Downing Drive.
Your yard is beautiful. So what is the division of duties here?
I do the yard work and she lets the dogs out at 2 in the morning.
That's important,
Yeah,
right?
I do that. So it's balanced out, yeah.
Well, thank you. It's
Thank you.
everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations. So great to meet you. Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
So nice to meet you. Congratulations. Joseph and Deborah Lopez at 11196 Livingston Drive.
Congratulations. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. You want to share your duty story?
I don't know. We just do our best. It was a real surprise. It was a shock to have somebody from the city come and knock on the door.
You didn't know that people drove the area.
Yeah.
You didn't know they drove the door, and then you got a long-term beautiful. That's awesome.
And it is lots of TLC.
Yes, that's the truth. Yeah, it's a lot of work. Yeah, well, thank you for doing it, keeping the city pretty.
Thank you. So nice to meet you.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Great to meet you guys. Thank you. Joan and Stephanie Lipinski at 10767 Livingston Drive.
And how do you guys share the duties of keeping your yards and fields?
It's all her. So she mows and I pick weeds. Then I go to the bar.
I like that.
Whatever.
That's right.
What a beautiful yard.
Thank you. It's gorgeous. Take your advice.
Nice to meet you. So my finger got a little sticky. I'm going to go back one. Good thing I have people watching me, I'll tell you. Russ and Kelly Johnson are here, and they're at 10920 Mildred Drive.
Beautiful yard. How do you keep it looking so beautiful? Our neighbors call it the park, and I have a park ranger. So, so you just order them ourselves? Is that what that is? I wish it were that easy. I take care of the flowers, and he really does put a lot of heart into the whole yard. So.
Well, it looks that way. Thank you very much. Thank you both.
Back pictures too. I know, the back pictures are beautiful.
Just show up.
Good work.
We'll see you soon.
Anytime.
You can't go into
Okay, we have Tim Gutierrez at 880 West 100th Avenue. Norman and Nancy Terry at 10683 Brewer Drive.
Hello, congratulations. So you're representing Gethsemane tonight?
Yeah.
Did you run in the green and gold fight? You did?
And we're doing it again September 15th.
How did you do it?
We walk.
We walk, we don't run.
Okay.
Sing partook.
Good for you. 55 minutes. Wow.
Good for you.
See, when I retired, she got more husband, less money, so I had to go work in the yard.
So is he doing all himself now?
Just the grass.
Just the grass. All right. Well, congratulations and thank you very much.
It's good to see you.
Thanks.
Nice job. Congratulations.
It's great to see you and meet you.
Congratulations.
Thanks again for all your hard work that day.
I still got a bucket of rocks.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, now we're going to award the Magnificent Tree. And we had a lot of nominations this year. We had about 39, I believe it turned out to be nominations. And this definitely is a magnificent tree. It is humongous and very well cared for. And our city arborist went out and looked at it. He probably climbed up in it. And the name of it is a slippery elm. And part of the reason it has that name is because of the coloring on the actual trunk. So if you get a chance, go by Kim and Cheryl Scadam's home at 9980 Clark Drive.
Congratulations. Awesome. That is an amazing tree. Do you have any stories you can share?
Well, there's a tire swing in it, and so the kids in the neighborhood swing on it whenever they want to, and that's the way we identify our home, is by the tire swing. And I never knew it was called Slippery Elm.
Until now?
Until now.
That's pretty good. That's a lot of years for that tree.
It is. That tree is almost 50 years old.
Oh, it's beautiful. Well, congratulations. And in case you didn't know, the Scadams are very involved in the city of Northglenn. They give back to the community. Their heart is in it, and we love them for it. So thank you for everything that you do, and this is a well-deserved award for you. So thank you. And I think you also get this, but I don't know how heavy it is. It's heavy. It's not too.
Do I wear it around my
Not
neck?
sure where you're at. What is the idea of the chain?
So it actually hung it on the tree, and you can go out throughout Northglenn and see those.
Doesn't that hurt the tree?
No.
No.
Wow. You have lots of awards.
All right, and that takes care of the summer, you guys. So thank you. We'll see you next year.
Thank you all.
I know.
Thank you to all the residents who do such a great job on keeping their yards so gorgeous in the city of Northglenn. We really appreciate all your hard work. All right. Give a minute to clear the room here. All right, we will move to public invited to be heard, limited to 5 minutes per speaker. Statements shall be related to city business and limited to matters of community interest. I do have a sign-up sheet tonight, but I'm thinking some people entered after signing or after I received the sheet. So should I put it down there so they sign this sheet? Would you like that? There's another one down there? Okay. All right, so I'm going to call these people first, but when you come up, please sign the sheet down there also. Thank you. The first person's name is Eddie Rodriguez. Would you come forward, please?
Identify myself?
Yes, please.
Eddie Rodriguez. I'm the operations manager for Docks and Apothecary located at 2100 East 112 in Northglenn. Thank you.
There you go.
Today I'm here to discuss the increased tax in the marijuana business, and I sort of wanted to speak more on the basis of how knowledgeable the consumers are about price point. I think it's really important to have a better idea of what's going on in the local market and how sharp consumers are. Consumers are constantly teaching us, even when our menu is not correct, and we run our reports at the end of the month, they literally identify our weaknesses. I personally feel that with the current market and many dispensaries putting products out as advertised as out the door prices, including tax, it's become sort of like a niche in our market, and there's not a lot of margins of profit in that to entertain consumers, specifically what's going on in Denver. And I feel that increasing the taxes in our jurisdiction is only going to push consumers outside of our jurisdiction, and we'll definitely lose sales and revenue. I was having a conversation prior to this meeting with our Adams County Commissioner, Steve Ordericio, hopefully I pronounced his name properly, and I was telling him how consumers are so tuned in to price shopping. The same thing you see consumers looking at coupons for food purchasing is the same thing that goes on in this current market associated with cannabis. They will travel far. We've ran deals to entertain consumers at really low discounts for 2 days, and consumers have driven all the way to our store in Northglenn from Colorado Springs. And so they're very in tuned to discounts. If we changed items as much as $3 and I run a report after 60 days, I will see that item fall off, and we run analytics every month. And just much as $3, and sometimes they're verbal right in the storefront about a $3 change. And so it's sort of important to explain how conscious consumers are about price points. And I really feel that if you increase price points as far as tax, that they will move off to neighboring municipalities to make their purchases where they aren't taxed as much for where their particular product is. I think that I know that Thornton has a different price rate right now as far as taxes and what they're charging on the recreational side. I think that not entertaining those businesses in Northglenn that have been established for a while and providing the revenues to Northglenn for some time and not standing behind them and increasing taxes that would exceed what Northglenn is currently paying in taxes or charging for taxes would be honestly something would be very overlooked. It wouldn't be, in my opinion, smart nor I don't think that any of the businesses would enjoy that or cater to that. I think it's very important that Northglenn definitely pays attention to those that have been here and paying that revenue to this point. And, you know, if you tax us out of that price point, the consumers will leave, which in the end means that there's going to be less revenue for Northglenn. So that's all I had to say today.
Thank you very much. The next name on the list is Joseph Ramos.
Council, thank you for allowing us to come talk tonight. I'm talking to you tonight as a business owner in the community and also a property owner. I just recently bought the CCU building, 50,000 square foot building off 104th, and I'm moving my law practice there. About 80 employees are moving there. I also own Physician Preferred Products, which is at 2100 East 112th Avenue. I also have a medical practice up the road on 120th. So I'm well versed in the community up here. And one of the reasons I moved my law practice up here was because I found the community to be very progressive. An active council, an active city. Just what you guys did tonight reminds me so much of everything I love about this community. And I think you've done great things. And over years, it's really taking off up here. So I'm happy to be a property owner and a business owner up here. That being said, I'm here to voice my strong opposition to the tax increase, or proposed tax increase on marijuana. And let me explain to you why. It's obvious why you would think of marijuana as a place to increase revenue. And I think that it's a noble purpose that you're thinking about doing it for the parks and schools and roads. It's wonderful. The idea behind it is great. The business idea to get there is not so great. Here's the reason. You have to stand back and look at how the industry is taxed already. And there's a 17.9% base tax rate, right? A 15% state tax, 2.9% excise tax. And then on top of that, there's already another 4% Northglenn tax. And if you add another 2% to that, the base tax, as it would be now, would be 23.9%. 23.9% tax rate. If this increases to the maturity of the ordinance to 10%, this becomes a 31.9% tax. And you know, there's a one thing that's gotten me through business well, and it was a saying. I grew up on a ranch, and my dad used to always say, if you shave your sheep, you continue to make money on them every year. If you butcher your sheep, you make money on them once. And we're just bordering on the butchering. As an owner of Physician Preferred Products in the marijuana industry here, remember that this tax doesn't hurt us as a business, not directly. It hurts the citizens of Northglenn. We draw locally into our business. And they stay local because if they drive just right down to Thornton, the taxes are a little bit higher, just barely. But they're so price sensitive, as you heard Mr. Rodriguez say, that they'll stay here. But they won't. They won't if you put this kind of burden on them. An excess of 30% tax rate it's butchering your sheep. And it's our residents, it's our local people that are getting hit with this. That's who pays this. And I think that if your sales drop 10%, if we do, and I don't know what the numbers are, if you do in excess of $2 million worth of sales per month in marijuana, and you guys know those numbers, if that drops 10%, you're not going to make up on it on a 2% tax bump or a 1% every year. It's going to go down, and it's in a price-sensitive industry. So I think it hurts the residents, and I think it's going to hurt the businesses. Obviously, when the sales drop, it will hurt the businesses. I'm here speaking in my own best interest in that regard as well. We will lag, but then it will hurt us as well. And then ultimately, when the final numbers are lower, or the final numbers aren't the growth they could be, as this industries become more and more competitive, ultimately there will be a less overall net gain to Northglenn. So, you know, in end, I would just say that it's a bad idea. I understand it's the low-hanging fruit because it generates a lot of money for up here. I think that you guys have done a very good job at keeping it in an area where it's expensive, but it's not so expensive that they'll cross just down to 84th Avenue where they now have the chance to go. And you guys have kept them up here. And it's not going to be that way forever if you don't heavily consider this. I would strongly discourage any tax rate in excess of 30% on anything. And I hope you'll stand back and look at the whole tax picture and not just the 2% that's proposed. Thank you.
Thank you. The next person is Marcos Ronquillo. I'm sorry if I butchered. Oh, no, not tonight. Okay, I will cross you off. Is there anyone else out in the audience that would like to speak? Please come forward and sign your name at the podium, please, on the paper. Thank you. And let us know your name and who you represent. Thank you.
Absolutely. My name is Salim Sakra. I'm the general manager of the Northglenn Green Solution. And, you know, we're kind of looking at some beautiful homes in the area, and we've been working with you, with your council and previous councils very successfully. We've also done our share in the community. Our landscape has been redone. Our facade has been redone. The parking lot has been redone. We understand the idea of taxing cannabis a little bit more, and we think that you've been fair with it. Our concern lies with future councils and how they will take advantage of this. We really understand the taxing of it, and we're okay with it. But I think we need to rethink maybe the cap. Maybe go to 5% instead of capping it at 10. I think at that point, like the gentleman before me said, we wouldn't cross that 30% barrier, which would be really, really tough on our businesses, and more specifically the tax dollars that come into Northglenn. Other than that, we've enjoyed being here, and we hope you'd consider our thoughts on this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Thank you. Please come forward and state your name.
Hello, Northglenn City Council members, Mayor. So nice to see so many of you again. I wish it was under different pretenses. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Allison Filer. I'm the owner of Green Tree Medicinals. I did send a few of you, well, actually all of you, an email a few weeks ago, and wanted to thank those of you who did respond to me. I hope the rest of you received it, but nonetheless, I am here to speak today about the potential ballot question. I have multiple dispensaries located all around Colorado. We have 7 stores total, and I can tell you from a first-hand account that the cities that we operate in that have increased their tax rate past an additional 5% on what we already pay are seeing hugely declining revenues and declining customers and are no longer even profitable businesses to operate. I can give you the example of the city of Boulder, where people are literally can't sell their businesses to other people because they're losing money. Despite what it may look like on the outside, like all dispensary owners are making a ton of cash, raking it in, making a fortune, whatever you may think, the truth is that most of us are struggling due to the federal tax laws and the inability to write off most normal business expenses. So I'm not sure how much of you understand this, but if you were a normal business owner, you would be able to write off everything, your meals, your gas, your pens, everything. We can't do any of that. Because we are federally illegal, we have to face the fact that the federal government taxes us on all of our expenses. So right now, we pay over 60% of our revenue. And I'm not talking about our net profits, what I take home at the end of the year. I'm talking about our revenue. So every dollar that comes into my store, I pay 60% of that to the federal government in taxes. Now, I think we just heard that this potential tax rate would be up to 30.9%. And we've also heard that we don't like to pass on these taxes to the customers. We like to put tax-included pricing. Everyone does this. It is a norm in our industry. So what does that mean? That if you guys raise this tax rate to 30.9%, I have less than 10% of the total revenue that I bring in, not my net profits, total revenue that I bring in to cover all of my expenses, pay all my overhead, pay all my employees, and potentially make money. So the reality is it's getting pretty scary to be a dispensary owner, and I'm not exaggerating. It feels like everyone's trying to take a piece of the quickly diminishing pie. And the margins are the lowest they've ever been, and they're just getting lower because everyone's competing with each other. If this tax measure passes, we will probably have to sell the business or move out of the city because it won't be profitable to operate here. We've been here since the beginning, and I love being here, but we're barely breaking even at the end of the year. And I bet that if the other owners were here, they would tell you the same thing. We have new competition in Thornton and almost every city surrounding us, and this is just not the time to pass a measure like this. These businesses seem like they're highly profitable, and they're not. If we pass on the tax measure to the customers, they're either going to go to the black market or they're going to go to neighboring communities that don't do this. We have about 20 employees that will probably have to get paid less, and they're already getting paid about $12 to $15 an hour. That's not really a living wage, so I don't know how we could afford to pay them less, and they could afford to work in our stores, so I don't know how we could keep our doors open. The voters haven't asked for this tax increase, to my knowledge, and my understanding is that if you're voted into office, you're doing this for the community people, the people that live here, the people that buy here. And I think by putting this ballot initiative out, you're taking advantage of a business that should be treated normally just like any other business in the city, but never has. If you're going to go further and put this issue on the ballot, please think about our medical marijuana patients. This tax increase would affect them as well. And in very few cities do we even tax medical patients, but in this city we already do. I'm not sure why you guys made the decision years ago, but we've always accepted it because it's been a reasonable amount of money. But I really don't believe that they should be paying any more additional taxes, and I want you to think about it if it was you or if it was a family member who was sick in a way that they couldn't get normal help. This truly is an expensive product already because there isn't insurance for it, and now you're talking about passing on an additional potential 10% tax to these people. I understand that it gives the ability to increase up to 10%, and you're not saying, oh, it's, you know, we're increasing it to 10%, but let's be honest. The reality is that if you guys pass this measure, it's going to go up to 10%, and that makes our total tax 30.9%. Now, can you think of one other product in the entire world that is taxed that high? Anything? No, because there isn't anything. These marijuana businesses shouldn't be the main provider of funds for capital improvements and public facilities to the city of Northglenn. We don't even get the benefit of using many of these facilities due to the negative opinions of our businesses and the federal illegality prohibiting us from many of the services and groups. We've brought in more tax revenue for this city than any other business in decades. Please stop punishing us by taking even more. We truly can't afford it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Please come forward. Hi, sir. Please come forward and sign your name and tell us who you are, please.
My name is Richard Pfeffer. I'm the managing partner of Be Good Ventures in your city. We feel we've been a very good citizen of this community. We try very hard to be a good citizen. To second what this wonderful young lady just said, who speaks much better than me, but I'm going to try to get it out. We lost $300,000 last year, and the federal government says we made $1.8 million. So they taxed us as if we made $1.8 million, but we lost out of our pockets $300,000. Okay, we got a tax bill as if we made $1.8 million. That's just seconding what she's telling you. We're not making money. We're losing money. All the little guys are losing money. The very, very, very big companies, some of them are making money, but most of them are losing money too. They're subsidizing it for when the federal government changes the law. Meanwhile, all the little people are getting squeezed out. But my gripe is a little bit different. I have to say that, you know, I understand a tax on vices, on things that, you know, people do for their pleasure and that aren't necessary for living, okay? And if you want to have like what is generally called a sin tax, I understand that. And you've put that on marijuana. But, you know, marijuana doesn't kill anybody. There's no evidence ever that marijuana ever killed anybody. 500,000 people a year die from car crashes from alcohol every year. There's an article in the paper today that no amount of alcohol is safe. Any amount of alcohol that you drink shortens your lifespan on average. After a huge study of 1 million studies, there's all kinds of problems with alcohol. That's the same kind of a thing. Why are we taxing only marijuana and not alcohol? So the citizens in your community who choose to drink instead of smoke marijuana don't pay a tax, none, to the city, just the regular sales tax. They pay no sin tax at all. And the citizens in your community who choose instead to use marijuana that doesn't kill them and doesn't kill anybody else, they have to pay a tax. And now you want to raise that tax after we've already funded your new building, a beautiful, beautiful building, and I'm glad we did that. But stop, please. It's not fair. Make it fair. If you want to make it a tax for alcohol and marijuana, now at least I can't argue with you about the fairness of it. I can just argue with you about the economics of it. I still think you'll lose money, but at least make it fair. Why just us?
Thank you. Anyone else like to come forward? Thank you.
Hello, my name is Lynn Carroll. I am the Patient Services Coordinator at Green Tree Medicinals, and I am speaking on behalf of our 400 patients. I have had the opportunity to talk to them the last couple weeks in regards to this tax increase, and I am speaking for them when they say that this will create a hardship. Our youngest patient is 4 years old. Our oldest is 89. Some of them are on a fixed income, and this tax increase would be very difficult for them to maintain. Some of them moved here to the state to get this kind of help, to be able to access cannabis for their medical issues. Some of them suffer from cancer. I have a patient with brain cancer who's using this to treat his cancer. I have a patient who is using this for seizure disorders and needs to take this multiple times a day to keep her seizures under control. So I ask you, I implore you to please reconsider this tax because it would create a hardship for medical marijuana patients. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to come forward today? Hello.
Hi, my name is Steve Odoricio. I'm one of the county commissioners in Adams County, and I wasn't here to talk about marijuana. I'm actually here to say I love that program that you guys talked about at the beginning, the Beautification Awards. It was out knocking on doors that I first saw this. I was even taking pictures and sharing it with some folks. I hope we can steal that idea, take it to unincorporated. I thought it was awesome. And I wasn't going to talk, but I was compelled to because my name was used earlier. And yes, I think it's an interesting issue. You know that Adams County commissioners were okay with taxing marijuana. And so you guys could, so Corey recommended, no, I'm joking, he didn't say anything. No, I think you guys have I know that your hearts and your heads are in the right place. I know at the door that I am still to this day hearing, why aren't we doing more to tax the marijuana, to find these other problems, to address these other problems? That keeps coming up at the door. Other issues I know that we're hearing out there are roads and bridges, infrastructure. I know you guys are working hard, but I wanted to simply say I'm not weighing in on this issue. Even though if my name was used, I just really want to say thank you. That Beautification Award program is awesome. So have a good day.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Hello, sir.
All right, Brian Downing on behalf of Green Tree Medicinals. I come at this in a different way from most people, I'm sure. I come from a place where my parents used to drive 30 minutes down to Texas to get groceries because they didn't have to pay taxes on them down there. So it's real. It's real. You live in a community that is right here surrounded by a bunch of different places who are competing for these dollars. If you start increasing tax dollars in a punitive way against a single business, what's going to happen? Those single businesses are going to shut down. That's economics 101. These punitive tax measures have been tried and failed many, many times over the years. Why? Because people are smart, especially in the day of the internet. They can go and look at any point and see, oh, look, this price is, $3 to $5 cheaper. Hell, it may be $10 cheaper by the time you're done with your tax incentives. And that's a lot. That's a lot of money. Think about it. Think about with your prescription medications or with your parents' prescription medications. You start asking them to pay 10% more for those medications, that's the same thing you're doing here. These are medical patients. There are benefits to this. There are people that have multiple benefits to this. Opioids killed 72,000 people last year. 72,000 people. But you're not rushing out to tax opioids right now, are you? You're not rushing out to tax the pain relief being spat out by all of those companies. No, you're out to tax a single entity because you don't like it or because you see it and say, hey, we can tax more because everybody else is. But that's not true. As was mentioned earlier, you look at Boulder. You're paying over $360,000 a year more in taxes if you operate in Boulder City than if you do in Boulder County. That's just a difference of the county versus the city. That's what you're going towards. People cannot get out fast enough in Boulder, and it's because of that. They're drowning. Because you either pass it on to the consumers, which is going to happen, or you drown and you collapse. Either way, the tax revenue will not be there. It doesn't make sense to increase the tax revenue in one specific business and think that you're going to increase tax revenue overall by that. That's not how it works. That's not how business works. That's not how anything works. You know, I understand what you're trying to do, and it's great to raise that money, but you can spread those across other areas as well. There's no reason to punish one industry, an industry that's already overtaxed. And again, forget about what the business owner takes home. This tax goes to the consumer, your residents. They will no longer shop here. If you did the same thing to groceries or something like that, they're not going to shop here. They'll drive 5 minutes down the street somewhere else. So you're not going to have the tax revenue. It's going to have the opposite effect of what you want. So at the end of this, just all we ask is that, you know, it's just think about it. Is it worth putting it on a ballot to then spend additional money, you know, on this ballot issue from November, when you haven't even asked the citizens if it's really necessary? Or is there even an actual research to show that the actual economic benefit of this tax increase, what's it actually going to do? I would just caution against spending the money, especially now, you know, on this election, to put this issue on the ballot in November. That's a lot of money, and economic waste is also going to occur because of that as well. So other issues to consider. Thank you.
Thank you. Will there be anyone else coming forward to speak this evening? If so, please come forward now.
Hello, my name is Emily Peters, and I'm a bud tender and a receptionist at Green Tree. I'm speaking personally. I just got diagnosed with scoliosis, and I'm already struggling enough to keep up with ever rising costs for rent, utilities, you know, anything and everything else that's increasing due to the population growth here in Denver. I choose cannabis to not have to go the opiate route. I'm fighting every day to not go that route. You know, some days are better than others. I'm currently seeing the chiropractor to try to reverse that. But I feel personally, I feel like it's not fair. It's not right. I feel like, you know, there's other ways that you can get whatever money that you guys need to, you know, do your construction projects, to, you know, help better the community. I understand that. You know, it's a necessary thing, you know, wear and tear with all the new people here in the city. I completely understand that. But I just wish that, you know, you guys would maybe look elsewhere. Find it in your heart to not even, you know, go through with this measure. And this is the first time I've ever been to a city council meeting, and I just find it really, you know, that important for me to hurry up and close up shop to make it here to have my voice heard. And I hope that you find it in your hearts to, you know, reconsider other options.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I wrote stuff down. I'll try to get it done. But my name is Tim Morgan. I am the Director of Community Relations for Be Good Ventures here in Northglenn. I'm also a board member of our local Rotary Club, Northglenn Thornton, which I'm proud to say, me, Carl, and Blake were out representing our club yesterday. We won the district race for Northglenn Thornton. We beat the Flatirons and Boulder. We're very excited. So. Okay. So tonight I am here to talk against and to appeal for some sort of dialogue and thought behind the ballot initiative that's being discussed tonight regarding increasing medical and recreational local sales taxes in Northglenn from 2% to 4% next year, with the possibility of increasing it annually with an additional 1% on both medical and recreational, until we will reach a total of 10% on both recreational and medical, possibly by 2025-26. Good. As I'm just making problems. Okay. As I'm sure many of you know, the city of Northglenn used to be the only municipal in Adams County to allow the sales of marijuana, which led to Northglenn into a legal battle with Adams County. Now they're not here any longer, but because they were trying to impose a special county local sales tax, which Northglenn fairly so felt illegal for them to impose a local tax that would be spent across the county and not only in Northglenn. Unfortunately, if we fast forward a little to 2018, where we're at now, Northglenn is no longer the only municipal in Adams County who sells recreational and medicinal cannabis. Actually, several are, and to the east of you, you have Thornton, who opened up a couple of years ago, and to the south of you, you have Federal Heights, who has also opened recently. The reason, and I know a lot about these municipals. In 2016, as members of the City Council in Federal Heights addressed me, asking me to help them pass an initiative to make recreational cannabis legal in Federal Heights, because they direly need the additional income. That being said, it's about 5 minutes drive to east and south. Actually, North Thornton is about a stone throw away from here. Northglenn is the only city that I know of in Colorado, or maybe there's a few others, but the only one in Denver metro area that collects a local sales tax on medical patients. You can consider, as other people has also said earlier tonight, we have always had our thoughts about the idea of the city collecting a local sales tax on medical patients, children and people with severe diseases who use cannabis to give them a quality of life. That you guys have, so that it is being considered by the City Council to raise that sales tax on these kind of patients to up to 10% is very concerning, and it will not create any additional medical revenues for the city of Northglenn. It will drive business elsewhere. Federal Heights, 0% local sales tax for medical. Thornton, 0% local sales tax on medical. If anyone thinks that they will not take the drive, 5-minute drive to a different dispensary in order to make their medical purchases, I think you will be mistaken. Second of all, 5%. What we're competing with and what I'm hearing a lot being talked about is how Thornton is having a 5% recreational and how Federal Heights is also having a 5% recreational. Hence, we're lower than Thornton and Federal Heights, so why don't we bump it up a little? The reason why Thornton and Federal Heights, I can't speak much to Thornton. I've only talked to the couple of city council members, but I know for a fact the reason why Federal Heights settled on 5% and not 2% like Thornton, as Northglenn, was because that they decided that the only way that they would be able to make the same amount of income with 5 dispensaries just in Thornton, in Northglenn, was to have 5% compared to 2, because they feel that the industry in Northglenn has matured to a level where, in order for that they will not be able to gain the traction of customers coming from miles away, Fort Collins, Colorado Springs, all over to do their purchases in Federal Heights or Thornton, but they will come to Northglenn. So the idea with having a 5% sales tax in Thornton as Federal Heights is not to have an income of $1.4 million, which is how the ballot initiative is now. It is to garner around $650,000, which is what the City Council in Northglenn, or the City of Northglenn, is gaining every year now in annual revenues. So. That was one of them. So now we've talked a lot about the local picture of how this is going to go down and what it could mean, like just struggle between, like the battle between the municipals in itself. If we look a little bit on a global, on a national level, we have what is called the States' Rights Bill that was introduced 2 months ago, and a bipartisan effort by Elizabeth Warren and Cory Gardner here from Colorado. Our lobbyist in Washington is telling us that it will probably be put on a vote in Washington next year, which will finally literally end the federal prohibition on cannabis in states that has made it legal, basically. Meaning that there will be no legal ramifications or any issues for a city like Westminster to start opening up for cannabis sales through more conventional channels, basically.
Tim, remember you're limited to 5 minutes.
Sure.
Okay.
Where am I?
I don't know.
Okay, we'll try.
Probably close.
Sure. Okay.
I didn't time you.
So, The current 2% local sales tax creates about 650,000 annually, and the idea is to try to raise that up to about 1.4 million annually, to cover a lot of great things that you guys have in mind here in Northglenn. You've spent about $20 million on a justice center here up in a community drive that we love. We love that the officers of this town has gotten some wonderful facilities, and you're also thinking of paying the first phase of the rec center with a $53 million rec center, where the first phase will be primarily like funded through cannabis over 20-year loans. I must implore the City Council greatly to consider having all these investments on such a long term, like all built up on cannabis revenues, that this industry will not look the same in 2 years, in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years. If you guys spend $73 million on things that you expect to get in only on cannabis, then you guys are having a problem later on. That is my honest opinion about that. Secondly, how do we make more money? We all want to make more money. Please help us. We need a bus stop at Cherokee Street. We need a way for people to, not only us, all the businesses in that industrial park. Help us create additional revenue, not through taxation, but through dialogue. We've had a great great relationship. You guys approved the sponsorship of city events from the cannabis companies last year. Until now, we have done great. Objectively, both numbers-wise, interrelationship-wise, and all those kind of things. Please reconsider putting this thing on the ballot, because it could have consequential, really devastating effects to you guys down the road if it goes down. And us as a business, if we decide to move, or we decide to close down our business, we are grandfathered in, like distance-wise. If you don't like us, that's fine, but nobody can take our place because we're too close to Green Solution. So not only are you squeezing the guys, but you will also have a problem with replacing the ones like Green Tree or anybody else who will not, or ourselves, who will not feel that it's viable. We are opening a recreational store and will turn it medical in Federal Heights, 5 miles away from us. 5 miles. We are running from Northglenn to Federal Heights Friday to celebrate the grand opening of our store, and to illustrate that it takes 45 minutes to run from one store to another. And if you can save 10% on taking a distance of 5 miles, people will go there instead. That's my thought. Thank you very much. Have a great evening. Okay, bye.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Is there anyone else who would like to join in on public invited to be heard? Yes, please come forward.
Hello, everybody.
Can you state your name and?
I am Zachary Katz. I work for Green Tree. I'm assistant manager. Basically, everyone's already covered all the points I was already going to put out, but seeing the customer base that comes into my store, we have people coming from Colorado Springs, Fort Collins, the mountains, all different mountainous towns, just because our tax rate is low and our product is wonderful. So if you're going to believe that hiring up the tax is going to make it so you're going to create more revenue, you're just going to draw revenue out, because we already have people coming from those higher up taxed areas to us. So from that point, you're just going to drive everybody out. Again, to Thornton, to the Green Mile in Denver, to Federal Heights, as they're saying. I don't want that. I hope you guys don't want to destroy your own community like that. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to come forward? Hi.
My name is Cassandra Gregg. I'm here with representing Be Good Ventures. I've had the privilege of being in this industry almost since its beginning. So I've been in the industry for almost 8 years, and just the privilege of being in Northglenn City for the past few years and get to know your residents a lot. I just want to say that I strongly would hope that you guys would reconsider this. I'm hoping that you guys can maybe spread those out in other ways. I hope you guys consider it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else who will come forward tonight? Hello.
Hello. Hi, my name is Hill, like a small mountain, Ellerby. I'm actually a sales representative at the Green Tree, Northglenn. I would like to say that over the course of the last 3 to 4 months working at, excuse me, over time working with Green Tree, I deal with medical patients and recreational patients throughout the day, and I do see a lot of people confused on the reason that the taxes are where they are currently, and when we find that they're proposing to, or that Northglenn is proposing to raise the tax percentage, it's quite an interesting conversation. And what I have come to find is that a lot of our medical patients and recreational patients aren't trying to hurt anybody. They're not doing anything crazy. You know, in my history, I would consider myself a recovering alcoholic, and have seen and lived through the experiences that alcohol can attribute to your life. Personally, I think that with marijuana, on the other hand, I think marijuana is a beautiful thing. When searching for a career choice, I think what would be the most beneficial thing for me to do? And I think being quality to people's lives is something that I can do for the rest of my life. Whether it be at a small, even if it's not as much pay as the next job would have or the next career would have, the fact that we bring quality to people's lives makes it possible for me to come to work every day and smile and, you know, really dig into what we're doing. You know, a lot of people have different views and opinions on what it means to be a bud tender or what it means to be a sales representative, and on a daily basis I try my hardest to raise the bar for what that means. And which brings me here today, and I would just like to say that I think personally it would be awesome if you guys were to reconsider raising the tax for medical marijuana. And I feel that there are a lot of people that will be affected by the raise of this tax, and personally, I think it would be unnecessary. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to come forward tonight?
I'll be the last Green Tree employee.
Promise. Just a joke.
So my name is Christy. I'm the manager at Green Tree. I've been there pretty much since rec has been legal. I'm our longest employee. I do all of our hiring. Pretty much know all of our customers on a first name basis, and we will lose a lot of business. We've had customers express that to us. I actually own a home in Thornton, but I work in Northglenn. We purchased a home in Thornton because it's cheaper, and customers will do the same thing. It's not far. It takes me 6 minutes to get from my house on 92nd in Huron to our store. So it's a 6-minute drive. Customers will go shop there. I go shop at the King Super in Federal Heights because it's cheaper than the one by my house. Customers are smart, and they will go the extra mile if it's 10 minutes, 15 minutes to save that extra 10% tax, 6%. And then you have to think too that it's just a little percent to you guys, but these are customers that have been shopping there every single day. We have probably 200 customers that come in every day or every other day that have been for the last 4 years. So granted, they might come in and spend $20, $30 every single day, but that tax adds up to them. And if they're gonna purchase this medication to get through their daily lives every single day, if they can send 8%, they're gonna go save it somewhere else. I do that with my son's asthma medication. I go to Costco all the way across town so that I can save that extra $30 off his inhalers. So I think it's a big mistake if you guys impose it, especially on medical customers. They're already burdened enough that their insurance won't cover this, their doctors won't help them. They're put in a position to where they have to use this medication that's frowned upon. They have to lie to their kids about the medication that they use because it's not federally legal. We're already penalized enough in this industry. And when you increase the tax, you're hurting the customers, which is ultimately gonna hurt the city because we're gonna make less revenue. They're gonna go to Thornton, they're gonna go to Federal Heights. There's just too many competitors in the immediate area. So I think you guys should at least lower the cap to 5%, like most people mentioned, because if we can stay a little bit less than Thornton or a little bit less than Federal Heights, a lot of our customers come from Thornton and Federal Heights. From the trailer parks on 92nd and Huron, we probably have 20% of our customer base live in Thornton, and they come to Northglenn to shop. But they're not gonna come here if we raise the tax. So I think if you keep the tax just a little bit lower than Thornton and Federal Heights, that ultimately it's going to drive more business to us and we're going to make more money. And that's going to be more money for you guys. So that's it.
Thank you very much. Anyone else would like to come forward this evening? All right. Hearing none, thank you all for coming forward and sharing your feedback with us. It's very greatly appreciated, and thank you for your time this evening. All right, we will then move to the Legislative Policy Committee update. Is there any this evening?
Councilmember Sowers, do you have anything?
No?
I
No
don't think
update?
so.
No updates other than we just are about our event, moving into a tour. We will actually be having the pre-event at Stonehawker as opposed to having it at the new Justice Center. That's the day that they're moving in. Beyond that, we should get some white papers from Secaucus, some talking points here pretty soon. And yeah, that's it.
Okay. Thank you very much. We will move to the consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Second. Joanna, would you open the vote, please?
The vote is open.
Please vote.
I'll close that. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm missing one. Sorry.
My vote is still closed.
Oh, yeah.
Video.
No.
My window for the vote is closed.
Okay. Do you want to provide a verbal vote?
Oh.
So that we can include it for the
Aye.
record?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So I'll
Thank
close
you.
that vote, and the consent agenda passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. All right, we will move into our resolutions this evening, the first one being CR 101. Joanna, would you read the title, please?
A resolution approving an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Northglenn and Adams County School District Number 12 for a joint school resource officer program.
Thank you.
Second.
All right. Manager Geyer, would you give us a little bit of a background on this, please?
Certainly. This is an annual agreement that we have with the school district, and Chief May is here to provide greater detail if you have any specific questions, but it's an annual renewal. We are a little bit off on the timing, so my apologies. We'll make sure that doesn't happen in the future.
Other questions? All right, seeing none, Joanna, would you open the vote, please?
The vote is open.
Please vote.
Aye.
Oh, I didn't even try that time.
Well, it's still closed and the whole
I'll log out.
says that I'm unable to connect to the internet.
Oh,
So somehow I lost internet connection.
All right, I'll close that vote, and CR 101 passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. All right, we'll move to CR 102. Joanna, would you read the title, please?
A resolution calling a special election to be held on November 6, 2018, directing that said special election be coordinated with Adams and Weld counties respectively, and referring a ballot question to the registered electors of the city at said special election.
Move to approve.
Second. Manager Cracken, would you share a background, please? I guess we really just talked about it, didn't we?
Well, per council's request, this item was brought forward to you. Staff has provided a memo with the background on what current proposed ballot language consists of, as well as an alternative if it's council's desire to tweak the percentage and the amount in the proposed language. So unless there's any other more detailed questions, the memo has the background for you.
Okay. Discussion amongst council. Marcy?
Yes, I'll go. I'll be voting no tonight. As I said before, I'm opposed to having this tax added. I think if the city has projects that we need to take care of, I don't feel like it's right to just tax one particular program and entity, and I think that's something that we need to look at as a city as a whole. I think it's easy for us to run and say we're going to hit this pool of money because it's there. I don't honestly think it's anything different than Adams County was doing, and we were pretty opposed to that. I know there's differing views on this, but I'll be a no vote tonight.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Sure. I just want to thank everyone who spoke for coming out tonight. I really appreciate you sharing your perspective as business owners. I think that was really important. I want to clarify, at least from my standpoint, I don't believe that we're going after a pot of money that we perceive is there for special projects for the city. I know the conversation came about because we're far below everyone else in the state. And so looking at the comparative data is how the conversation started. I don't recall any conversation where we were trying to go after somebody's money or shut down somebody's business by overtaxing them. That was not the intent. But we are far below the market value for this particular tax. And I mean, I think we can open it, I don't know if we can or not, to adjusting the ballot language, but we've talked about it at multiple study sessions and really had a lot of discussion prior to this, and that has all been public as well. So thinking through the fact that this is also going to the voters, we are not saying that this is what has to happen. The voters in our city will get to do that, and I believe that they should have that opportunity.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Jenny?
Thank you, Mayor Dodge. I really wanted to first say thank you to everybody who came out and participated in this discussion. It's really helpful hearing from all of you as business owners, as well as individuals who are involved in our community. You know, I've received a handful of emails, particularly from business owners, but I haven't heard directly from a large number of citizens about this. I have been reflecting quite a bit about you know, our instance in which Northglenn stood up to Adams County to ensure that the residents could ultimately have a say over, you know, this particular industry being taxed. And I feel like that's exactly what we're giving our voters the opportunity to do, is to determine whether or not this is a good fit for our residents. And so, you know, I hear that folks are concerned, you know, that this is going to completely disrupt the industry, but I feel really strongly, you know, that the rate at which we're asking voters or giving voters the option to look at is starting at 4%. That is going to continue to be below Thornton. That is going to continue to be below Federal Heights in the very first year. Additionally, Westminster doesn't offer retail marijuana, and so I believe that our market is going to continue to remain competitive. The other thing that I noticed is that in the current ballot language that we're considering this evening, that we note that the rate of tax being allowed should increase or decrease no more than 1%. And so I would really love just a quick little bit of clarification. If, you know, in the first year in which, you know, taxes go up to 4%, and then in the second year, should the voters approve this initiative and the rate moves to 5%, which is again consistent with our neighbors in Thornton as well as in Federal Heights, if we determine at that time that this is having a negative impact, does the language as it's written allow us to stop increasing that percentage every year? Do we have a little bit of authority over that?
There is no obligation to increase the tax on an annual basis. If the council decides to increase the council on an annual basis, the maximum it can be increased is 1%.
Okay. In that, with that description, I feel comfortable with the language as is, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Antonio, do you have your hand up? No? Okay. Anyone else want to weigh in?
I guess I will. I've been thinking about this for a while, and I'm very uncomfortable with not to exceed 10%. I mean, 10% is a large number for me, you know, to increase any kind of taxes, because we don't know who's going to be sitting in our seats in 2 years or 4 years, and there could be a lot of changes. So I'm just too uncomfortable with it at this point to vote for it. I do agree that the citizens should have a chance to vote on it. However, I don't believe that our citizens know we're even discussing it. They just don't. The businesses do, but I don't think our residents do. And so with that, I'm going to vote no.
Anyone else? All right, I would like to weigh in also. I also thank everybody for coming forward tonight. I have to say that I have an issue with the city targeting one business to do the good of the city and to build infrastructure that affects all of the residents in the city, but we're taking it off the backs of one certain business. I have a little heartburn with that because to me, that should be a sales tax increase that all of the residents feel if it's for the betterment of the entire city and not just a business. So I have an issue with that. I did not know that medical marijuana was only taxed in Northglenn. I had no idea. So how did we ever get to that point? I don't know why I didn't know that. But now that I do know that, it makes me have more heartburn because I definitely, if this would move forward, the language would have to be changed for me to get medical marijuana out of the language. I also don't like the language of it not going to the voters for a vote when we decide to make increases. I think that's a mistake. I would have considered a small increase had we included public safety as one of the uses because I believe we could really use it to go towards public safety, but that was not considered either. In the end, I think if we do nothing, our dispensaries could actually benefit by being the lowest tax, having the lowest tax rate in the area. I mean, you're going to draw more people in to buy at their businesses, creating more sales tax for the city. I see that in the end. So I'm definitely not on board. I will be a no vote too tonight. So thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to speak? All right. Hearing none, Joanna, would you open the vote, please?
Vote is open.
Please vote.
Mine's closed. Here it goes.
I'll close that vote and CR 102 passes with 3 no votes cast by Mayor Dodge, Council Members Downing, and Whitman.
Okay. So thank you for coming tonight. I would say that this is going to the ballot, obviously, so we'll see what the voters say, but I definitely appreciate all the input from the businesses tonight. Thank you very much. We will move to CR 103. Joanna, would you read the title, please?
A resolution supporting the Rangeview Library District's Anythink Libraries ballot proposal.
Move to approve. Second.
Manager Geyer?
This is a resolution before you for consideration of support regarding the Anythink Libraries November ballot initiative in which they're asking for a 2.2 mil levy increase in its current operating levy to help meet the rapidly increasing needs of the library district.
All right, thank you. Is there any council discussion? Seeing none, Joanna, would you open the vote, please?
The vote is open.
Please vote.
I'll close that vote, and CR 103 passes unanimously.
Thank you. We move to CR 104. Joanna, please.
A resolution supporting full funding and permanent reauthorization of the Land and Water Conservation Fund.
Second.
Manager Geyer, please.
Thank you, Mayor Dodge. This, again, is a resolution requesting council support of the Land and Water Conservation Fund. The city received funds several years ago, many years ago, rather, in the 70s and 80s. So we don't have recent funding, but this is certainly something that, from a staff perspective, we encourage consideration of support.
All right. Council discussion? Hearing none, Joanna, would you open the vote, please?
The vote is open.
Please vote.
Close that vote, and CR 104 passes unanimously.
Thank you. We will move to CR 105. Joanna, would you read the title, please?
A resolution supporting the ballot issue on November 6, 2018, regarding a tax levy increase for the Urban Drainage and Flood Control District.
Move for approval. Second.
Manager Guyer?
Another resolution asking for council support regarding a ballot issue on the November 6th ballot regarding the Urban Drainage Flood Control District to help support, to increase the mill levy in terms of helping support the gap in current funding for the district.
All right, thank you. Council discussion? Seeing none, Joanna, would you open the vote, please?
The vote is open.
Please vote.
I'll close that vote, and CR 105 passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. We will move to discussion items. Where's Nate? Oh, he's hiding back there. Nate, would you come forward for the Ralston House update, please? Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. So during the month of July and August, the contractor had completed the exterior of the building, and now they're hammering away on the inside. Actually, Chief came out, took him on a tour last week, and I think he left impressed with the building. The contractor's making pretty good progress. They started working on the site grading, and they're getting as much done as they can, but they can't do the full site until the existing building is taken down, which won't happen until the end of the project. But the contractor's doing a good job staying in contact with them and the design architect, and then also with the Ralston House staff itself, and taking them on multiple tours. They're definitely excited about the building. So,
thank you.
Right now, we're working with Excel on getting the utilities switched over, and that's actually gone pretty smoothly for the most part, and everything's going well.
The building is just going up so fast.
Yep.
It's amazing every time I go past it. Okay, and then you also will be doing the Northglenn Justice Center construction update.
Correct, and this will be the final project update. We're 2 weeks away, and everything's going well. Received a punch list item from the architect this afternoon, and there are a few items that we're still working on, but they're minor, and we're getting them addressed. And I know Chief's definitely excited about that building, and everything's on schedule, and we're doing very well on that one as well.
All right, are there any questions from council on Ralston House or the Justice Center?
All right, thank you.
Nate, thank you so much. All right, we move to communications. Mayor and council, we'll start with Jenny.
Great, thank you, Mayor Dodge. I have 4 items tonight. One is I want to say welcome to our new city manager, Heather Guyer. I'm so excited to have you here and to bring all of your incredible knowledge and put it to work for our city. I'm also excited to welcome you as our very first woman city manager, so welcome.
Thank you.
Secondly, I wanted to announce our fall edition of our ward meeting is going to be held on September 18th. We'll be at Vantage Point High School starting at 6 p.m. And residents can come to hear from candidates who are running for the State House as well as the State Senate. We're going to give Heather a few moments to introduce herself, and then we're also going to talk about the new zoning code that we've all been working very diligently on. The one major change is that this time we are providing childcare, so any residents who have young children who want to come and participate in their Ward 4 meeting, you can do so now. We'll have staff on hand who have a lot of great and fun activities planned. Thirdly, I'm sorry, I wanted to say congratulations and thank you so much to the Northglenn Historic Preservation Commission, as well as Commissioner Lauren Weatherly. A couple of, I think 2 weekends ago, we took part in the Denver Modernism Week and hosted a walk of some of the homes in Deza Estates, and 4 homes participated, and it was truly incredible. There were, I think, close to 100 folks who came out and toured the different homes, and it was a really great way to showcase the architectural gems that we have in our city. And Lauren really took on an incredible task of making that walk happen, as well as making it extremely successful. So I think in the future, we'll probably see more homeowners participate, and we'll be able to continue to showcase that piece of our city. And then finally, last week I participated in the Technology-Enabled Girl Ambassador Interviews. TEGA is a program of the Adams County Youth Initiative, And so I sat down with a young woman who recently graduated from Northglenn High School, who's also a Ward 4 resident, and she interviewed me about what it's like to be a parent, and then what my hopes and dreams are for Adams County and our next generation. And if she's any indication of the youth and this generation that Northglenn High School is producing, we have a lot to look forward to. Thank you, Mayor.
Antonio?
I just did everything that,
That's cheating.
my Ward 4. Thank you.
Okay. Marcy?
So a couple of weeks ago, we had a meeting with the mayor on like what might have been the rainiest day of the summer. But thanks to staff for toughing it out. They were sure wet, and everybody had a good time. Got a little close in the little pavilion, but I think it was one of our best. Mingle with the mayor's very well attended. And then last, I guess I have a request. I know at our last meeting we had a discussion about childcare, but we didn't have a discussion about how that's going to pan out in the budget. So I'm guessing that's coming out of Ward 4, but I'd like to know whose budget it's coming out and what the cost is.
Thank you, Councilmember Whitman, for bringing that topic up. I have received questions about childcare over the last several days. I'm in week 2. So I do have it as an item to bring up under city manager matters for discussion. So I can either talk about it now or we can wait and I can elaborate on the information that I have in a few minutes, whichever you'd prefer.
You can wait.
Okay.
Is that it? Okay. I just want to thank the staff for Magic Fest, namely the event staff, but I know so many other of our employees help out. It was really wonderful. I think you had really good attendance this year. The magicians were great. The show in the theater I thoroughly enjoyed. It was so much fun. So thank you very much for another successful Northglenn event. I wanted to let everybody know that our senior organization had their most recent business meeting at Northglenn Heights, who was very nice to host us. And they actually changed one of their bylaws, which I'm not sure that they've done that in forever. But what they did was they allow now any member of the NSO, meaning if you are from Thornton, because we have a lot of members from the city of Thornton that belong to our senior organization in Westminster. So now they have changed it so that people from Thornton or Westminster or any other city can actually become a executive officer. So they can be president, vice president, secretary, treasurer. And I think that that was really forward thinking of them, that they would allow that. I think if people come in and they pay the dues to belong to the senior organization, they should have the same opportunities as everyone else. So I think that was a really good move. And I just wanted to share a little presentation that actually Heather Geyer and I were at an AdCog executive breakfast, and we got to hear a presentation from Right On Learning, which is a mobile preschool. And they actually have a program right now in Federal Heights, and Thornton is also looking into it. It is a mobile unit. It comes to your city, and they can host, I believe she said, 8 children at a time, and they do 2 classes a day. So it's a preschool, and they're dealing with mostly kids who, you know, they're ESL students. They don't have access to preschool. We were very impressed with it. So I'm hoping that we can get a presentation in here to Northglenn because, you know, all the cities need it, and we would also, you know, benefit greatly with it. So that's it for me. Ruth?
Just got a couple things. I totally agree with everything Jenny said about the Deza Estates tour. Lauren went out of her way. I mean, it was her baby, and she did a great job coordinating everything between the modernism group and us. And there was a presentation in the auditorium first, and then they did a tour over at Deza Estates, and it was great. They did have more people than they expected, and I know it's going to be take on a bigger next year. So in Magic Fest, we handled the liquor sales over there, the Historic Commission, and that was great fun. And I do want to thank all the volunteers that helped us because we had a lot of people that stayed longer, you know, because we had some folks that actually were ill that weekend, and so we were kind of short-handed. So I do appreciate everybody that stayed and helped. Then for Smart Commute, I went to NADA, and I just want to share what they were talking about as far as our in line, you know, and I am one of these people that I really don't believe this is going to happen, you know, but I'll tell you what they said. They're still looking at starting the testing in late 2019 and opening the train up in 2020. So we'll really see if that happens, but they said there's contracts out for trains, contracts out for supervision. So they are optimistic, you know, to say the very least. So, and then just one other thing, and Nate, I think, touched on it. September 13th from 4 to 6, there's going to be a hard hat tour over at the Ralston House, and we're all invited if you want to come. So they're really excited about that. It's going to be really fun, I think. They are also looking for, they're in a capital campaign, so they are looking for sponsors if anyone's interested, you know, equipment, rooms, whatever it might be. But they are looking for some support from the community. And then I've just got one other thing. I was kind of apprehensive about it, but Adams County is going to hold a forum on September 25th, and it's for Let's Go Colorado. And I think it's a good thing, you know, to go and listen to the panelists and everything. But they're also looking for sponsors. Now, I don't know. I was thinking of, as far as the legislative committee goes, if we wanted to do something like that or not. And I don't know if anybody's touched on that topic. So
it's not something that we've discussed, but I do know that they approached Mayor Dodge and asked if they come in and give a presentation to our council. So I don't know where that is in scheduling, but they did approach us.
Yeah. But this is going to be a forum, maybe, I don't know when.
I don't remember who came forward to me and asked.
I believe Councilmember Maria DeCambra from Westminster.
Make a presentation here about?
About the 25th, mean?
No, about the Let's Go Colorado ballot initiative.
Yeah.
I don't recall that, but.
So I don't know how council feels, you know, about the whole thing, but definitely they're going to have a forum, and they're looking for sponsors also. And it will be a breakfast. It will be a breakfast over at the West.
Seems odd.
Did you get an email about that?
Yeah.
No, you didn't get an email. I was at a meeting that they discussed it. No, you didn't get an email. I was at a Smart Commute meeting when they were talking about the logistics of everything. So anyway, whatever council wants to do, I don't know, but.
So the only thing I'm thinking is that, did I get it when we were in flux with our last city manager and forwarded it? Because honestly, I don't remember where that lays. And
perhaps. I know that they've been reaching out to various communities. I know they did a presentation for the city of Wheat Ridge prior to me leaving Wheat Ridge, so I can certainly reach out if it's council's desire and have schedule them to come in and present to council. They're looking for communities to support the overall ballot initiative, and then there's various other roles that as individuals you can get involved in.
Right. I think it's important that they come and present, so I'm not sure where the ball got dropped, but we'll pick it up, and you know, Metro Mayors is supporting it, so it would be good to enlighten the entire council and whoever else wants to hear about it.
So yeah, you know, I just brought it forward because I knew about the breakfast at the Westin. You know, so, and I do know that all the cities that in Adams County pretty much have supported this at this point.
I'd love.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Let's go.
There we go.
Okay. All right. That's all I have.
Oh, thank you. Meredith?
On August 18th, I joined the Youth Commission for their Relay for Life fundraiser for cancer. Lots and lots of walking around the park at the Westminster Rec Center. It was a lot of fun. Crazy thunderstorm came in, so I had a bunch of teenagers in my van as we took shelter in a closed space to kind of get that going. But the evening was so inspiring, and the families that participate are amazing and strong, and it was just a beautiful event. And once again, our Youth Commission kids just shine with, you know, how responsible they are and how helpful they are. And if someone needs something, I mean, it's all hands on deck to help set up the event. So it was lovely to participate in that. It was just a little wet. And then I wanted to take a minute and welcome everybody back to school, because I haven't had a chance since school started. All of the teachers and kiddos, and just to thank all of our residents. I love that Northglenn puts those signs out saying, you know, give our kids a break, because traffic is getting up and going again, and there's not a school around that has a perfect carpool process. So if all residents could be patient and make sure that we keep our kids safe, that's super important. And along those lines, I'm still kind of circling back to this school safety topic. And so when we talked at the study session last week about how to bring items up, this was an opportunity. So I'm just going to bring it up again, that when the superintendent spoke and made the statement that it's really hard to secure high schools, I can't let that go. And so I'm trying to figure out how, as a body, we might be able to implore Adams 12 to think outside the box and get some unconventional strategies for securing high schools. So the example he gave is that for middle schools and elementary schools, there's one secure entrance. All the other doors are locked. You have to be buzzed in and out, and that keeps the school secure all day long. And high schools typically have two. They have the one at the front, and then they have the one at the student parking lot. And I felt like he was sort of giving up and saying it's too hard and it's too, I think, inconvenient maybe for students. And I get that, but I know of a ton of Colorado high schools that have made that a priority and have figured it out. So I just want to open that conversation in some way for the safety of our kids. Let's see. And like I said, I do have lots of examples from other schools. But this year also marks the 20th anniversary of Columbine. And it's a big deal, and we have to focus on it. And I'm just super frustrated that we haven't made our kids a priority at the high school. So I know that there is a heightened focus on all of the response protocols, and every district is jumping into additional training. I get invited to all of it. Adams 12 has their own. Everyone is doing a ton to make sure that our staff is prepared, but we have to figure out how to secure the buildings. So clearly, I'm passionate about that.
And I think it's a good opportunity to have Chris Godowski come back in and maybe do a presentation to us at a study session where we can address this.
I would
It's
love
something
that.
for us to keep in mind for the future, please. Thank you. Jordan?
Nothing, Mayor.
Joanna?
I do have one quick item. September is Passport Awareness Month, so the City Clerk's Office will be offering extended passport hours during the month of September. We're excited to offer the service to citizens as part of Patriot Day on September 11th, and we'll be open until 7 p.m. that evening. And then on Saturday, September 15th, we'll be open from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. We realize that day is also the Pirate Festival. We will have eye patches, hand hooks, hats, coins, something to give to our customers to also encourage them to go across the street to the park and enjoy that awesome festival as well. But just wanted to let everyone know about those extended hours.
Thank you. That's
Thank
great.
you.
Thanks, Joanna. Yes, Manager Guy.
Just a couple updates before we talk about childcare at city meetings. The Northglenn Rec Center is currently closed for annual maintenance this week. It'll reopen on September 4th, so I'd encourage residents to make great use of our parks and trails. I know it was a pretty hot day today, but encourage those as resources in lieu of the rec center being closed. You can still do walk-in and phone registration between 9 and 4 p.m. For programming Monday through Thursday of this week. And then we'd like to extend an invitation to the public to come out and see our new Justice Center facility that will be hosting a ribbon cutting with Chief May and other officials on September 11th, Patriot Day, from 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. This is going to be an opportunity for our community to take a tour of the facility in areas that will later then be secured, and you won't be able to access those areas. So great way to showcase this fabulous facility that we have opening soon. And again, that's at 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. on September 11th. So on the topic of childcare, I've had some questions come up about providing childcare services at city meetings. I did send out an email to the city manager listserv via the CML listserv earlier today to try to gauge how many different cities are providing this service. I only received one response, which is with the city of Westminster. So I have a couple pieces of information to share with council, and I think what I'm looking for from council tonight is direction in terms of this is a topic of conversation related to the 2019 budget, so it is an item that will be included for conversation at the September 17th study session, and I have specific budget figures in terms of what a 2019 budget impact would look like. So for the remainder of this year, I know, again, second week on the job, that there have been 2 meetings that childcare has been requested at, which is the ward meeting that Councilmember Wilford mentioned, and then the community meeting that's being planned in late October for the Save a Lot community meeting. In talking with our Parks and Recreation Director, Amanda Peterson, for each meeting, we're estimating that it costs approximately $70, for staff time for a single meeting. This doesn't include any snacks, supplies, or activities. This is solely for the provision, the child care provision during the meeting. Again, estimating that each meeting would be about 2 hours long with 15 minutes of preparation and cleanup on either end of the meeting. And this assumes an hourly wage of about $13.81. A couple notes: when it comes to a liability perspective, we do have a licensed child care program housed out of our recreation center. So a couple of things to keep in mind. We would be asking part-time staff members to work additional hours. So we would be paying them to work these additional hours, and the license through the state of Colorado doesn't necessarily follow those individuals when we have them out in the community providing childcare services at city meetings. So that's just something to keep in mind. I don't think it would be a significant issue, but it wouldn't be accurate to say that our childcare license follows from the rec center to the different ward meetings or whatever community meetings we would be having. So again, I have estimates on what projections would look like for 2019 costs, depending on the number of meetings that potentially council would have the desire of covering. One of the staffing challenges to keep in mind, this would be staff asking our part-timers if they would be willing to work. You know, I think we've got a great staff, and staff members always willing to jump in and help provide coverage. So hopefully we won't be in a situation where we can't find staff members to cover, but that's a consideration as well. So certainly the sooner we know that this type of request is going to be made, the easier it'll be for us to communicate with staff that there's an opportunity to work. So just one quick thing, Mayor, I'm sorry. I believe part of the request was through the remainder of 2018, we do have the funds available to absorb the 2 meetings that have been requested thus far in the city budget.
Right. Discussion, Marcy?
so this council has been like all about the process and procedure things. So for me, we had it as a discussion at the last meeting, and then suddenly like we're implementing it. And so I guess turnaround's fair play because others have voiced concern about how things get approved and how things happen. So I guess I just would have liked to have had that as a discussion that we would have decided on. And we talked about always being fair. And so I don't think it's fair that it's only childcare when we have plenty of adults who have caregiving responsibilities to their parents. So if we're going to provide it for kids, then I think you're going to provide it for people who have elder parents that get to come along to.
Any other discussion?
Mayor Dodge, if I can just make a point of clarification, I believe these commitments were already made prior to me coming on board.
It at you. Should have been a discussion.
I guess in my mind too, I mean, I've seen the ward postcard and it already had childcare would be provided, and I wonder when was that okay? I mean, to not run past the rest of council.
So I asked our city staff at the time if that was something that we could do, and they said yes. I didn't understand that it was something that the full council had to approve. And I'm glad that we're having the discussion about it, because given the median age of our city, I think it's really important that we start to be mindful that we've got a lot of young families who want to participate in our democratic process and don't presently have the ability to do so. And I think that this extends that opportunity to folks. And so I think we should certainly have a discussion about it for the 2019 budget. And council members can weigh their own decisions as well as their own current life situations if they wish. But I think it's important that we're extending this opportunity to folks so that we can actually have full citizen engagement, not just, you know, beyond just the folks who are, you know, able to come because they don't have any family commitments. You know, if you know, $140 is truly the concern of council, I'm happy to, you know, provide the rest of my travel budget for the rest of the year. I won't go to NLC in Los Angeles. That is fine, because I think it's significantly more important that our residents who have young families at home have the opportunity to participate in their local government.
Any other discussion?
Just chime in just a little bit. I agree with Jenny, and I think it's an incredible option that you're providing for young families to be able to do so. And if the cost is a factor or burden, I have no problem contributing.
I don't think the cost being a factor was ever brought up with anybody, that was an issue. I think it was the way that it was brought up. So I would assume that if you're okay with it coming from, you said you had somewhere in the city budget for the remainder of 2018. Do you know where in the city budget?
I believe it can be absorbed within the Park and Recreation Department budget, but if council's desire to have it come from a different area, I'm certainly willing to follow council direction.
I'm personally not concerned about that part of it because I don't think it's that much money. I do think let's just leave it open to when somebody has a ward meeting, and if they request it, then it happens, and if they don't request it, then it doesn't happen. But it's not something that's mandatory for all meetings. It's kind of how I'm feeling. So
that's the way I feel.
Yep. Is that okay?
So if I can just repeat the consensus that I'm hearing from council, to be clear, the consensus is that it's not mandatory for the city to provide child care services. If a council member desires to have the service provided, they can request such for a meeting, and then for the remainder of 2018. And then we'll continue the conversation for the amount to be included in the 2019 proposed budget at the September 17th study session. Is that accurate in terms of what I heard?
I just have a wondering really quickly. I'm also not concerned about the cost. I think it'll be minimal, but you said something about liability. Is it something where, like, for example, if Ward 4 is going to make that choice, they would need to have their meeting at the rec center to cover the staff?
Again, the license follows the program. So you know, I would have to ask that question specifically to see if there's a nuance to where if the meeting's held at the recreation center, if the coverage would be applicable. That I can't answer tonight. I can certainly find out. But again, the license doesn't follow if the program goes off-site into a park or at another facility.
I'm going to answer it a little differently, and that is that we're not agreeing to provide licensed childcare. And so do I have liability concerns? The answer to that question is no, unless the expectation is that they're receiving licensed childcare. They're not. They're receiving childcare from experienced childcare providers, but not licensed childcare.
So here's just a random concern, and I hate to go worst case scenario, but I know, like, for example, when we have PTA meetings in my building, and PTA provides daycare for the kids so that the parents can meet, PTA is covering it with their license. So hypothetically, it's terrible, but if the ward meeting is at a park and under the care of our staff, a kid drowns, who's liable? Like, are there going to be parent waivers that they sign before they go to the meeting? Or
the short answer is that it is likely that the city is likely immune from liability. That's not a great answer under the Colorado Governmental Immunity Act, because that is still a risk. So that's certainly part of the analysis, but it is not one of the enumerated exceptions to immunity. So if something, the city has protections in place as it relates to its employees to assure that they are qualified to provide the service, but again, it's not licensed. So if something bad happens to the child, the city is likely immune, but that doesn't solve the problem. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think those are maybe all considerations to consider too when we discuss it in 2019, because those are great comments, I think. Jenny?
Thank you. Heather, can you check in with Westminster and see how they're managing it, if they're asking parents to sign a waiver, or if they, how they're kind of managing the paper trail or addressing some of Councilmember Leidy's concerns?
I can.
Thank you.
Sure. Yes. And that's fine to check with Westminster, but we have a risk manager here in the city, and I think she would be the appropriate person.
Who are you?
Kathy Cabazzo.
Kathy. Yeah. Thank you.
You have everything you need?
I do.
Is that the end of your report?
It is.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. And then Corey?
Nothing tonight.
Nothing tonight. Okay. We have one more public invited to be heard segment. Is there anyone who would like to come forward? Seeing no one, we are adjourned. Thank you.